They say every soul has a guardian angel, a celestial shadow assigned at birth. For Samuel, this belief became undeniable proof the night his brother, Elias, stood merely seconds from death. What happened on that rain-slicked road was not luck. It was the intervention of an invisible force, a silent sentinel standing guard. This story will prove to you that angels exist and that they are always watching over you. Far above the spheres of human comprehension, where eternity dwells and the light of glory shines without end, the eternal Almighty God was issuing sacred mandates to his hosts. One by one, the mighty angels received their hallowed commission to descend to the earth, to watch over mankind, to protect them on their treacherous paths, to deliver them from evil, and to guide them according to divine will. You, the Lord declared, will care for the mother who weeps in silence. You will accompany the child destined to grow amidst trials. You shall also watch over the innocent and the aged. And you too, he added, his voice firm yet brimming with compassion, you shall descend together. You will be the invisible shadows of two brothers, Samuel and Elias, born into a home steeped in faith. Guard them with utmost zeal, for though their origin is the same, their paths will be strikingly different. This is my decree, for I am the eternal God Almighty, who grants life and takes it away, who wounds and who heals. Meanwhile, in a tranquil small city, Samuel and Elias were born, two brothers bonded by blood and by the deep-rooted faith their parents instilled in them from infancy. From the time they learned to speak, they were taught to pray, to trust in God's providence, and to walk the path of righteousness. That very day, from the ethereal heights, the two appointed angels descended silently, commencing their solemn mission. The parents of Samuel and Elias were souls of unwavering conviction, steeped in the fear of the Lord. Every day, they sought to sow seeds of wisdom that would sustain their sons throughout their lives. In their prayers, they reinforced a profound truth. Children, their mother would say with deep tenderness, never forget that in his immense love, God sends us guardian angels to care for us. They watch over us without a sound, even though we cannot perceive them with our earthly eyes. Their father, with a voice that carried the weight of experience, would add a stern warning. But you must also know this, my sons. Through our wicked actions and our disobedience, we can drive them away. When a person chooses to walk down dark roads, that divine protection weakens, and it is as if they themselves push their guardian angel into the distance. Young Samuel, always filled with sharp curiosity, would ask, "So, Father, can an angel truly leave our side?" The father would look at him with gravity and reply, "Not because the angel desires to leave, my son, but because our own rebellion separates us. When we reject God through our manner of living, we are the ones who force the separation." Elias, however, would remain quiet, introspective, as if those weighty words failed to sink deeply into his heart. As the years unfolded, those celestial beings fulfilled their mission in silence, safeguarding the boys and diverting dangers the brothers never even suspected. One afternoon, when Samuel chased a stray ball that rolled into the main road, just as a car sped past at terrific velocity, an invisible impulse yanked him back an instant before he crossed the threshold. No human eye saw the intervention, but his angel had stepped in. On another occasion, Elias, agile and carefree, climbed a massive oak in the backyard. As he ascended, a thick branch snapped beneath his weight, sending him plummeting toward the hard ground below. The impact should have been devastating, perhaps fatal, but in that precise fraction of a second, a heavily leafed lower branch materialized, interposing itself in his descent, cushioning the impact entirely. It was his angel who had placed that shield of foliage in the exact right spot to save him. Time, an unrelenting current, carried them forward until the day arrived when they had to leave for university in a bustling city, far from the sacred tranquility of their childhood home. Before their departure, their parents embraced them, tears welling in their eyes, and imparted the ultimate, most critical lesson. "Sons," the father spoke, his voice cracked with emotion, "never forget to fear God and remain unyielding in your rectitude. The world outside is a different place, laden with temptations and shadowed pathways. Do not allow anything to draw you away from the truths you have learned here." Their mother gently added, "Wherever you go, remember that you are never alone. Your angels will continue to guard you, but maintaining that closeness depends entirely upon your choices. Do not drive them away with foolish decisions." It was there, far removed from the watchful eyes of home, that the true separation began. While Samuel labored faithfully to remain true to the principles of his upbringing, Elias began to yield incrementally to the subtle influence of new friends and misaligned paths. He failed to recognize that each dark choice, each compromise, pushed him further from the protective cloak of his guardian angel. The shift in Elias was not sudden. It was silent, slow, and almost undetectable. Initially, they were small concessions. Accepting the company of acquaintances whose intentions were clearly rooted in mischief, laughing along with them, even though deep down he knew he did not truly share their direction. Soon, those companions led him to places he had never dared venture, loud nightclubs pulsing with excess, where the dazzling, superficial glare of the lights masked the deep spiritual darkness lurking beneath. Elias began to experiment with what he had always deemed unnecessary: the alcohol that burned his throat but delivered a fleeting, momentary sensation of false liberation. And then came the most perilous temptation: the drugs his new associates offered as casually as if they were harmless games. One night, stumbling blindly through the streets after drinking far more than his body could tolerate, he walked without direction or awareness. Suddenly, a vehicle appeared, roaring toward him at top speed. In a matter of seconds, his life could have been extinguished. Yet something utterly invisible shoved him violently aside, throwing him onto the cold pavement just an instant before the impact. Elias failed to comprehend what had occurred. Gasping for air, his heart pounding erratically, he simply assumed he had been incredibly lucky. His guardian angel, despite the wickedness Elias was embracing, had intervened one last time. Samuel, his brother, watched Elias decline with profound sorrow, witnessing his return in the small hours of the morning, often intoxicated and disoriented. There was no anger in Samuel's heart, only a deep love that compelled him, again and again, to plead with him. "Brother, this is not the way. This path will not give you the fulfillment you seek," he would urge with both tenderness and desperate hope. "Have you forgotten the teachings father and mother imparted? They spoke of faith, of discipline, of walking with integrity, even when the world offered convenient shortcuts. They told us we are never alone, that our guardian protects us, but they also warned us that through evil actions, we risk chasing him away. Brother, please, reconsider your choices." But Elias, his ears deafened by the seductive illusion of transient pleasure, refused to listen. Elias drifted further and further, blinded by a life that promised fleeting excitement but was silently pulling him away from his divine purpose. Meanwhile, his angel and his faithful brother remained standing, fighting for his soul in the unseen realm. Elias, increasingly distant, continued to surround himself with harmful influences. Arguments in the streets became commonplace. His academic performance plummeted disastrously. The cacophony of the taverns and the lure of easy gratification dragged him down every night, like invisible chains pulling him away from the promising future he had once dreamed of. Samuel, utterly loyal to his brother, never tired of counseling him. "Brother, do you recall what father and mother taught us? Have you forgotten your angel? They said he was always beside us, but also that our wicked actions could grieve him and sever us from his protection. Do not extinguish that light, Elias. Do not sell your eternal destiny for a moment of darkness." But Elias, his heart hardened by habit and denial, would simply turn away and walk off in cold silence. In the dead of night, when the clock seemed to stop ticking and Elias had not yet returned, Samuel would fall to his knees beside his bed. With hands clasped tightly and tears blurring his vision, he would pray in a low whisper, "Eternal God, guard my brother. Protect his life even though he refuses to ask for it. Do not allow the evil in the world to consume him." And as Samuel lifted these fervent pleas in the unseen world, his angel continued to hold the line. Though Elias actively walked through the deepest shadows, His angel continued to watch over him in silence, because his brother's continuous prayers were like a formidable shield that covered him night after night. Elias never fully grasped why he repeatedly emerged unharmed from dangerous situations, but Samuel knew the truth. It was the absolute mercy of God, answered in the form of protection offered by that faithful sentinel their parents had spoken of. Every single night transformed into a silent battle, Elias fleeing toward the darkness, and Samuel kneeling, wrestling for his soul with words ascending straight to the heavens. Simultaneously, their parents, having learned from Samuel of their son's devastating deviation, also lifted their voices, imploring God to shelter him in the midst of his profound waywardness. And so Elias persisted on his reckless path, unaware that his steadfast guardian angel was slowly, mournfully, beginning to withdraw. One night, while both Elias and Samuel slept fitfully, Elias' angel silently departed the room and flew toward a solitary mountain peak nearby. His wings drooped heavily, weighed down by the sorrow crushing his heart. Samuel's angel, noticing his brother's absence, followed with deep concern until he found him seated atop the mountain, staring sadly down at the valley where his protected one was sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. "Brother angel, what afflicts you?" he asked softly, noting the profound grief reflected in his eyes. Elias' angel sighed, the celestial brilliance in his own countenance dimmed. "It pains me deeply. It pains me to watch Elias drown himself further each day. Before I accompanied him with strength, but now his footsteps carry him far from the light. He is lost to drugs, to meaningless parties, to alcohol, and I feel him push me further away with every choice." Samuel's angel placed a reassuring hand upon his shoulder, attempting to transmit a spark of hope. "Do not lose faith, brother. Sometimes men must touch the very bottom of the darkness in order to be shocked awake. Our duty is to wait, even when the waiting causes us great distress." But Elias' angel bowed his head, his voice strained. "And what if he never wakes? What if I lose him forever?" Just then, a majestic and solemn voice pierced the silence of the mountain air. The Eternal called Elias' angel to his presence. "Ascend to me, faithful servant." The angel, his heart oppressed by worry, ascended swiftly to the throne of glory. There, encompassed by infinite radiance, he bowed his head in the deepest reverence. The Most High spoke, his voice shaking the very heavens. "I observe everything, nothing is hidden from my sight. I also behold your deep sorrow, the anguish of his brother, and the silent weeping of his parents." The angel, tears shining like pure crystal upon his cheeks, responded, "O Lord, have mercy upon Elias. Do not overlook the pure prayers of his brother, nor the desperate pleas of his parents who cry out for him day and night. I myself do not wish to lose him." Then the Eternal was moved to compassion and declared, "I will have mercy upon him, not because of his own merits, for he has severely strayed, but because of the passionate cry of his brother, the deep pain of his parents, and also because of you, faithful guardian. But listen closely. I will place before him one immense trial, one stronger and more defining than anything he has yet experienced. Only then will he truly understand that the pathways of shadow lead solely to death, and he will finally recognize that apart from me, there is no true life." The angel trembled violently and begged, "Lord, do not wound him. Allow him to return whole so that he may rise with strength." But the voice of the Most High resonated like thunder splitting the mountain. "This is my decree. I am the sovereign owner of life. I give life and I take life. I wound and I heal. And there is no one who can escape my hand. This time I will guard his life, but I will not guard his flesh." The angel lowered his face, trembling, and in his spiritual silence, he understood that the will of the Most High was firm and unmoving as an eternal rock. Then, with a voice that was broken yet utterly reverent, he lifted his final cry. "Eternal God, though my heart is shaken and profound sorrow embraces me as I foresee Elias' path, I accept your decree. You are my creator. I am your messenger, and your will is perfect, even when it causes me pain. I will obey your command, for I know that your ways are higher than mine." And so the angel descended again to the mountain, where Samuel's angel waited anxiously. With a somber face, he relayed the devastating decree God had established for Elias. Samuel's angel, hearing the painful prophecy, also showed deep concern, yet he replied with celestial firmness, "Brother, remember that we were created only to execute the commands of the Most High. Though it causes us pain, His word is everlasting, and His will is entirely perfect." That same night, while Elias and Samuel lay sleeping, Samuel was granted a vivid vision. In the dream, Samuel saw a car screech to a stop right in front of the house where they slept. A group of Elias' friends climbed out, laughing loudly and shouting, insistently calling his brother out to invite him to a distant nightclub. Elias, quickly animated, agreed and climbed into the vehicle amidst loud jokes and music played at maximum volume. But in the middle of the drive, the false joy transformed into horrifying tragedy. A brutal collision, glass shattering into countless fragments, agonizing screams of pain, and then a dreadful silence stained crimson with blood. Samuel woke up in a cold sweat, startled, his heart hammering against his ribs like a desperate battle drum. "Elias," he gasped, shaking him by the shoulder, "wake up, brother, wake up now." Elias, still heavy with sleep, opened one eye and grumbled irritably, "What is it, Samuel? Let me sleep, it is the middle of the night." Samuel, his voice shaking uncontrollably, insisted, "No, listen to me. I had a horrible dream. I dreamed your friends came. They convinced you to go out to a club, to lose yourself in fleeting pleasures, and then there was a fatal accident. I saw your face covered in blood. I saw your life extinguished, Elias." Elias let out a dry, scornful laugh, turning away toward the wall. "Ha, and since when does a mere dream dictate how I live my life? Those are just the silly fantasies of your overactive mind, Samuel. Do not bother me anymore." Samuel looked at him, fighting back tears, and whispered intensely, "It is not a fantasy, Elias. I feel in my soul it was a heavenly warning." Elias, in deliberate indifference, closed his eyes and replied, "Well, keep your warnings to yourself. I just want to sleep." Samuel sat in silence, feeling in the deepest part of his being that this revelation was not a simple dream but a genuine message from the heavens. Tears filling his eyes, he knelt beside his bed, raised his trembling hands, and began to pray with extreme fervor. "Lord Most High, protect my brother Elias. Do not allow him to fall into the trap of death. Guard him under the shadow of your wing. Remove evil from his path, and grant him the understanding to hear your voice." And thus Samuel remained kneeling until the morning light, never resting, ceaselessly pleading for the life and the ultimate destiny of his brother. What Samuel did not know was that this horrifying dream was the precise decree that God had relayed to Elias' angel. The following day, night descended with a strangely charged atmosphere, as if the earth itself were holding a profound secret in silence. Exactly as Samuel had seen in his dream, a car full of raucous laughter and jarring music pulled up violently outside the house. Elias' friends called out, insistent and demanding, "Come on, brother, the night is only just beginning. The club awaits us." Samuel shot up instantly, his heart seizing in his chest, and he grabbed his brother's arm with desperate force. "Elias, please do not go. Remember what father and mother taught us. The path of evil always appears fun at the outset, but it invariably ends in destruction. Do not go, I beg you." But Elias, forcing a smile and with a flash of willful rebellion in his eyes, roughly pulled his arm free. "Samuel, stop worrying so much. It is just one night out, nothing is going to happen." Meanwhile, in the realm invisible to mortal eyes, the guardian angels of both brothers watched. Samuel's angel looked on with compassion, lending strength to Samuel's desperate plea. But Elias' angel bowed his head in utter sorrow, for he knew that tonight he would not intervene as he had before. His mission was not to force obedience, but to respect the unyielding order of God. And so, with rushed steps and without daring to look back, Elias joined his friends, climbed into the car, and the engulfing darkness of the night consumed him. Hours later, the tragedy exploded. The vehicle lost all control on a sharp, dangerous curve, and the deafening crash of metal against pavement tore through the quiet night. They plunged into an unseen ravine. Elias' friends perished instantly. Elias, however, was found gravely wounded. His body was devastated, but his life had not been taken, because his angel, though prevented from shielding him from the crushing impact, had received the Eternal's command to preserve his breath, to sustain the spark of life within him. 2 harrowing hours later, Samuel received the terrifying news. His heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. With tears streaming down his cheeks, he caught a taxi and rushed to the scene of the accident. There, amidst the wailing sirens, the shouts, and the frantic, blinking lights, he saw his brother on a stretcher, unconscious, attached to tubes, blood staining his face. Samuel fell to his knees beside him, shaking uncontrollably as they loaded Elias into the waiting ambulance. His own angel stood beside him, silent, steadfast, guarding the divine purpose that was still being fulfilled. In the midst of pure desperation, Samuel called his parents, who were in another city. With a voice choked by sobs, he delivered the devastating news. On the other end of the line, the heart-wrenching cries of his mother and father echoed in the silence. The next day, his parents arrived at the hospital in a frenzy. There, united, the 3 of them kept vigil over Elias day and night in constant prayer, crying out to the heavens for a miracle. Samuel refused to leave his side, holding his brother's hand firmly, as if his touch alone could infuse him with life. After several agonizing days, the first light of dawn streamed through the window. Elias' eyelids fluttered slowly, and with a weak, immense effort, he opened his eyes. Samuel, his face wet with tears of relief, whispered close to his ear, "Brother, you are here. Thank you, Lord, thank you." The parents embraced, sobbing but now with pure relief, and the angels, unseen by human eyes, bowed in reverence, witnessing the fulfillment of the divine purpose. Elias lived, and he had been granted a second chance. In that profound moment, with a voice barely a thread of air, Elias managed to speak. His eyes moistened, and through tears he looked up at his brother and his parents. "Forgive me," he whispered weakly. "I was a fool. I did not heed your warnings. I drove away the protection of my angel and the watchful care of God." Samuel, deeply moved, squeezed his hand tightly and replied, "Elias, your angel never left entirely. God was still guarding you, even when you refused to listen." Elias, weeping with profound remorse, raised his gaze toward the ceiling from his hospital bed and spoke with true sincerity, "Lord, forgive me. I promise I will never again stray from your path. I beg you to grant me this opportunity and make me a new man." His parents wept, but these were tears of incredible joy, for they saw that not only was Elias' body beginning its recovery, but his very soul was being healed. From that day onward, Elias honored his solemn promise. He permanently distanced himself from the bad company, diligently sought the path of righteousness, and every step he took was accompanied by the faithful presence of his guardian angel, who now watched him with a luminous smile, overjoyed to return to full protection. Elias finally understood that life was a divine gift, one he must never squander again. And so, with renewed faith and a heart made humble by suffering, he lived every single day as a man transformed by mercy.